everybody. It's been a little while since I had gotten properly on this channel and shown my face to talk to everybody. There's been quite a lot happening. I've just been busy with life. I've gotten a new job. I'm living in a completely different place than the last time you saw me. I'm engaged. Quite a lot going on. If you're watching this video and you don't know who I am already, my name is Josh. I go by Jsh.E online. I'm a lead supervisor for VRML, though nothing about VRML will be represented by me in this video. I've been in the competitive VR space for quite a while, about 4 years in total now, and I've been pretty heavily involved in moderation and running for leagues within VR for a lot of that time. Mainly, I've participated in things like Breachers. Right now, I'm the league supervisor for Orion Drift. And a while back, I participated pretty heavily and found my biggest passion in Echo VR. Now, a little while back, when Echo VR had shut down, I became a bit of a face for reporting on the games that were popping up to take its place. You can see a lot of those right here. When Echo had shut down, a lot of devs wanted to fill the hole and fill the void that was in our hearts as players with that such a unique experience leaving the platform. And I took it upon myself to report on a lot of those. Things like Lucid, Reverb, Rebounders, Hex VR. There was a whole slew at the time, but one I just named primarily stood out, that being Reverb Arena. It felt the closest to Echo in terms of its movement, its throwing, really just its feel. It felt the closest we had to an Echo ARM-based locomotion system, which is what made Echo so special to a lot of the players outside of the community, what made it a unique game. Now, Reverb Arena was a very rudimentary project made by Circuit. And Circuit Lord, I can't remember the exact timeline, was a month, maybe 2 months into this project, when another Axiom, the creators of Orion Drift, reached out to him and hired him to work on Orion Drift with them. Due to this, Circuit Lord left the project behind to go pursue his work with another Axiom on Orion. Now, fast forward a little bit, about a month ago, Circuit Lord actually left another Axiom to pursue his own VR project. And that's why I'm here today. That project is what you have been seeing play behind me. This is No Shot VR, a new zero-G sport game being made solely by Circuit. Why? Because he wants to make something that he wasn't seeing anyone else do in VR. He wants to make a game he enjoys, that he wants to see. So I'll let that video come in now, so you don't deal with the glare on my screen, and I'll talk about No Shot generally as you see it. So on October 25th, Circuit Lord released this trailer following a handful of small code teasers he had put out just to tease the game to those who were paying attention enough, to put out the current alpha look of what No Shot is like. And as you can tell, it's a little rough graphically. I do love the depth mapping and the shine on the blocks, but outside of that, you can tell it's pretty rudimentary. The characters are just blocks, everything's kind of a gray scale with just the blue and red to differentiate sides. It's nothing intense graphically. But from a clear stance, if you have experience with Echo, it holds a lot of reminiscence towards it, regarding the geos, how the arena is set up in a rectangular shape, a little thinner with 2 goals on either end, tunnel-like structures in the middle, and just the overall gameplay. Now, I feel pretty good about it. Like I said, way back when, I did a lot of reporting on all these different Echo reminiscent games that people were trying to make to fill the hole. And at that time, Circuit Lord, by far, made the best feeling game comparative to anyone else's. The throwing felt the best, the movement felt the best. Floating around, felt good. And that's why I have faith in this project. Circuit Lord proved himself about 2 years ago that he knew how to make good feeling systems, and now he has a whole lot more developmental experience underneath his belt, and he's going at it again. I have my full faith in Circuit Lord in being able to make something that will feel good, not just for himself, but for the community, for those of us who have been waiting for a high quality, zero gravity experience in VR. Now, Circuit Lord was kind enough to answer a couple of questions I sent his way. Not super specific to the game, more so looking for a broad overlook about what his plans were and what it would look like. The first question I asked him was, since a lot of people are flocking to No Shot, are previously Echo players, and are living in the expectation that it will be like Echo Arena, what are the key aspects of the game that will differ or be similar to Echo? Circuit responded saying, No Shot obviously takes in a lot of inspiration from a previous game you may have heard of, but the way I like to describe it is that it's my vision of a modern 2025 zero-G VR sport. Specifically things like integrating paddling as part of the movement model, tightening up the netcode, and making the game more accessible in general for the next generation of VR, like being on all major platforms, are part of his gameplay goals. Second question I asked him is regarding the graphics. I wanted to ask him regarding the future. The graphics are pretty primitive right now. What are his plans moving forward? And will he want people to work with regarding it? Absolutely, yeah. I'm not an artist, and while I love the cube character models, I can assure you that they will not stick around. I think having good-looking graphics is extremely important. I'm pretty tired of every VR game looking like a mobile game. I want to build the game for PC VR and scale it down for Quest where needed. I may work with a 3D artist at some point for some stuff if I hit my limit on my art. So, good to know it won't look like this forever. I really doubted it. Just wanted confirmation as good information for those of you listening. Next question, pretty big for all of us waiting in anticipation, is what are the timeline goals? Circuit Lord said that he does not specifically have any timeline goals, but he will start letting people into the closed alpha fairly soon, probably a month or two. And although that might feel like a long time, it really isn't. The time will pass before we even know it, and we'll start seeing people get in and potentially be getting footage from those people. And a bit more of a direct message from Circuit Lord himself. The goal in his heart about this game is very simple. He wants to be able to hop into the game randomly and there be enough people to matchmake and play a public match. That's his definition of a success. He wants to make just a game that has people, has a community that can enjoy it. He wants to make this game so he has something he wants to play with his friends, and he's making it because no one else was. That's really all I have to say about No Shot, as limited footage and limited resources only allows me to say so much, other than the fact that I put my full faith in Circuit Lord regarding this. Also, he has made a Discord server, closed alpha forums you can sign up for the closed alpha through. Now, we're gonna change topics here. The video's not done. I want to talk about the other elephant in the room, the second half of my title. Alright. So before I dig into this, I need to put out some disclaimers. First and foremost, I've gotten to be known as the VRML guy, Jsh.E from VRML, one of the leaders of competitive Orion Drift organization. Nothing I say, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is representative of anything VRML. Everything here is my thoughts, my opinions. Everything here is me. I don't represent anyone professionally other than me. And then also, moving forward, I'm going to probably get a little bit rambly, so if you don't like the rambling, maybe turn the video off, or just let it play and turn it down. I'm gonna be talking a lot, probably a little fast at some points, and probably a little emotional. Not sad emotional, angry emotional. So, fair warning. Alright, so on October 24th, Orion Drift released the mainframe. This had a handful of things. As the name suggests, they released the mainframe, which functions a lot like a battle pass. You get a new currency for participating on challenges throughout the station, and you can use that currency to upgrade the mainframe, which gives you access to a whole slew of cosmetics. In addition to this mainframe update, they also added 24/7 scrap run, which is very similar to death runs from Gmod, if you're familiar with those times. And then, as a little sub note in the patch notes, they added Z-Drift, their new zero gravity VR sport mode. I'm going to be putting up some of the gameplay footage I have of it here as I speak, so you can see roughly what I'm talking about. Maybe you can relate, maybe you can't. But there were a handful of issues. Just about on par with the release of this game mode. It wasn't polished, it wasn't free of bugs, it was a mess, to be blunt. Me and my friend Coda hopped on, and we spent probably a good 20 to 30 minutes trying to find a single Z-Drift arena that had a ball in it. One of the biggest game-breaking issues of the game mode was the fact that you could not play. It took maybe half a round's worth of time. So let's 2 to 3 minutes, I would say on average, across the arenas we could play in, that the ball would just disappear, would glitch inside some walls, just go away, and make it completely unplayable, and force you to go load into another server and pray that you could find a new ball. But it's not just that. It's not just the fact that the game half the time was by default unplayable. There's also several performance and just obvious glaring issues. One of the big things I noticed was just how the arena felt, how the regrabbing felt, how a lot of the interactions felt. The arena itself is too big, too spacious. It feels a lot more like it was built for a low gravity, not zero gravity. There's just a lot of flat platforms to bounce off of. Most of the speed you get will come primarily from below you interactions, swiping on the floor. And also, there's just a lot of cases where if you are flying through the air, you're just in dead space. You can't do anything. You need to either fly up to the ceiling and throw yourself down, or just slowly use your boosters to get down to the ground. But it also doesn't stop there. On top of the ball disappearing and the space feeling wrong, the mechanics feel wrong too. A lot of us from Echo are familiar with regrab. The ability to pull off of the person in front of you, then they grab you, pull off of you, and you chain it to go faster and faster. Orion Drift put a cap on this, meaning it takes maybe 2-3 pulls before you're hitting that cap. And when you hit that cap, you get jittery. You might even lose speed by trying to go faster. It doesn't feel good. On top of that, another big issue, because of the way Orion Drift is built with their characters, every bit of your body has collision. So if I grab onto an enemy while they have possession, or they grab onto me while I have possession, they just need to throw themselves around at the speed of light to make me lose possession. Because if they just throw themselves around my body fast enough, between desync and where their actual body is, they'll hit the ball one way or another and I'll lose possession. And it'll either just stall there in the air or it'll start flying away. Nothing you can do about it. Nothing. Other than stare them down and hold your arm out. Now, the other idea you might have is, okay, passing plays. If you move fast enough down the field and keep passing, well, you don't need to worry about them grabbing on you. That's where the other issue lies. Through regrabbing, I don't know the exact cap, but it's somewhere around the 15 meters per second. If you grab the ball, you will be capped again on your speed, down to 4.5 meters a second. You'll lose over 66% of your maximum speed by just grabbing the ball. It feels like a baseball bat hitting you in the head, just stopping you. And like I mentioned before, if you're floating in mid-space and you grab that ball and you get halted like that, you're screwed. You gotta toss that away now or get jumped. Overall, it just feels rushed. It feels like it wasn't well thought out. It wasn't well play tested. Just all these issues are coming through, and just about anyone I see is talking about how it doesn't feel good. The only reason I see people saying it's good is it's good when you play with friends, which means it's not the game that's good, it's your friends that are good. You're having fun with people, not with the game. Now, I have a speculation as to why it feels so rushed. I believe it is rushed. And this is where a little bit of a conspiracy theory comes in, so once again, don't like it, there's the door, or you can hear me out. Now on the 14th, Not Mark, one of the developers for A, had announced internally to the comp communications chats that there is a reason that 4v4 / the comp build ended up being a bit neglected when it got pushed into the live build. Let me get my script up here so I don't mess up the wording. Not Mark said specifically this: the Driftball pod, which if you don't know is their development team regarding Driftball, switched into helping with the next upcoming build since it's a bigger one that we needed all the team to lock in on together, and spoke to this as being why the 4v4 comp build got neglected. Now, because they had to pull the Driftball pod, the team responsible for developing that game mode, into this new build, I would assume and really hope, considering they sectioned them off already as this pod, that they weren't throwing them on the mainframe for cosmetics, and they weren't throwing them on Scrap Run, as that's not remotely near Driftball. Now this leaves one section of this update that can logically be deduced as what this team got pulled for, and that's Z-Drift. But why? You're trying to build a good comp community. You were close. There was a lot of good things that happened in the comp build, but they got reversed when they got pushed to live. Why was there such a desperate need to pull the Driftball pod out of that area, neglect competitive play, to focus on this new mode that is pretty buggy and not very polished at all? But why? Why 2 years into the development of Orion, after making the call to back off from Zero-G to go for Driftball, why suddenly 2 years in are you neglecting other modes, actively pulling staff away from it, to rush out this new build that wasn't even the main part of the mainframe update? It wasn't even a sub-header, it was just in a sub-list. Why make this push for something that you're not even making something main about? My honest opinion? I think they decided to do this to maliciously fight against Circuit Ward from getting a hold in the market. In my opinion, the timing is just too coincidental. You can argue me on it, but it's a little too coincidental. AA leaves Zero-G behind 2 years ago, stops working on it, focuses on Drift Ball, makes Capture the Beacon, makes Drift Blitz, Scrap Run, 4v4, trying to push the comp community in a certain way. And only now, 2 years later, once an ex-employee tries to make his own Zero-G game because he's seen no one else doing it, is AA trying. And not only that, they're actively pulling away from other parts of their community, neglecting development in those sectors to try and rush out this product that ended up buggy, broken, and horrible. Really, AA? Do you think we're that fucking stupid? Your game's already teetering on its ability to remain stable. You keep pumping out game modes that die quickly. I never even heard of Capture the Beacon until I went digging in your announcements channel. You focus so much on cosmetics. I'd say your cosmetics are far more consistent than any level of gameplay or game mode I've seen you put out. And yet, even with that focus, doing so much more in cosmetics than focusing on refining the quality of your gameplay, you're still so greedy as to try and fuck over an ex-employee who wanted to build something that you had long forgotten about. Just really? What's wrong with you? Now, this isn't entirely about trashing you. I do have a genuine suggestion from my heart. I'm no game dev. I haven't ever made a game. I've tried, but it wasn't my forte. But regardless of that, my suggestion is this. As someone who has previously had experience in software development and making projects as a whole, you need to stay in your scope. You're trying to build all of this. You need to focus on this. Just about anyone I speak about your game can speak to the fact that what you've developed in the past has died. Scrap Run wasn't really getting much attention. Maybe with this new update it is. Capture the Beacon is dead. Drift Blitz I never hear about. You're making tennis and golf and volleyball and parkours and dribbling challenges and this and that and this. Can we just make one section of the game quality? The performance sucks. Frame rates are tanking. The networking is bad. There's constant desyncs all over the place, everywhere. You want to make and support a competitive mode, but at the same time, you pull staff away from it to rush products that aren't ready to be pushed out, and then you push them out to live anyways. You claim that they're tested, but there's no way that that's possible with people discovering these bugs in the first 2 minutes of it being released. Either you're lying, or the tester group you have is ass, and you need to find better people. You can play the card if you want of Orion Drift is early access. The community really wanted it. We had to put it out. No, you didn't. No, you did not. You're the developers. You run the project. Guess what? If the community says they want something and it's not ready, you come out and say, it's not ready, guys. It's gonna take a bit longer. To me, this is about who actually cares about making a quality game for the community. From just about anything I've seen at this point, Another Axiom is more focused with driving cosmetics and trying to build short little trends here and there to try and keep their community engaged in some way. But the best way to keep your community engaged is to just build a good game. Fix the issues. Every time I log onto Orion Drift, I immediately want to turn around and leave because it's just bad in its basis. You're building a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. Get some concrete in there. Circuit's out here, building something he loves with his own heart, with his own time, not taking any money, just focusing on something he'll like that feels good for the community. Meanwhile, AA just keeps pushing out more. They're so focused on playing every base that they're not playing the game at all. Now, No Shot may look rough, but at least in my opinion, it looks smoother and better than anything Orion Drift has put out in months. So I'll be waiting for this. And maybe, just maybe in the meantime, AA, you can find it in not just your heart, but also your skull, to maybe focus on putting something out that's quality before putting out more quantity. Maybe then you'd stop getting so many complaints on every update. And also, just for the record, if you don't like working on weekends, stop fucking pushing major updates on Fridays. Move to an industry standard Tuesday or Thursday, guys. For fuck's sakes, I'm not even a developer and I know that. Come on. Don't drop a giant project on Friday and expect it to work fine through the weekend. Doubly also, just because it happened last night as of recording this, get some good security. For those of you who don't know, Orion Drift's API keys got hacked, and people got access to change names of fleets, change graphics in-game, and do several other things. Luckily, this group played pretty harmless and just put A2 hipsters claiming the hack for themselves, but it could have been so much worse. There could have been corn on all those. There could have been illegal content on the boards in-game. There could have been doxing information. And who knows what information they got access to when they got access to those API keys. Who knows what they could have pulled? I don't. It's dangerous. You kind of expect a $100 million company to have a little better enforcement regarding game security and more specifically their personnel staff security. Two-factor authentication goes a long way, guys. Let's do that. So yeah, that's about all I'm geared up to talk about today. Once I get some more footage of No Shot, I'll be more than happy to talk about that. If I get into the closed alpha and with Circuit Lord's permission, if I can record it, I'd be more than happy to make videos about that. I'm thinking we're back, baby. I'll see you soon.